So what we've got here then is a section B objective case question. And the mini case here then is all about TeethCo, which is a private cosmetic dental surgery. And we've got two types of teeth procedures, A and B. And they're carried out by one of the dentists. They've got three dentists. They've also got some receptionists and dental nurses. And we've got more information then about the treatments and what they comprise and how long they take. But let's have a look at the requirements. The first thing we have to do then is to work out what is the capacity of the bottleneck activity. Now we're told that the bottleneck activity is dentist time, and that's been correctly identified. So what we're going to need to do then is to work out how many of procedure A and how many of procedure B a dentist can do during the year. So first up, we need to work out how many hours of dentist time we've got per year. Well, we know that there are three dentists, and we know the surgery is open for 8 hours a day, for 5 days a week, and it closes for 2 weeks of the year. So it must mean that it's open for 50 weeks of the year. So there are 6,000 hours of dentist time available. And treatment A takes 1.25 hours. So that means then that we're going to be able to do 4,800. And a quick glance across at the options sees that that's reassuring. So it's got to be C or D. And procedure B then takes 2.4 hours. So that means we're going to be able to do less. So we can do 2,500 of those. So the correct answer is C. Question 2. What is the throughput ratio for both treatments? Well, the throughput accounting ratio is equal to the return per hour divided by the cost per hour. And we've been told that they've worked out the cost per hour as $91.67. So what we need to work out then is the return per hour. So we start off then with the throughput contribution. And for treatment A, that is going to be the charge, the revenue of $270 minus the material cost. Because remember, in throughput, materials are the only variable cost. So that's 230. And the time per treatment the bottleneck time, or the dentist time, is 1.25 hours. So the return per hour is 184. Divide that by the cost per hour, 91.67, and you get the throughput ratio, which is 2.01. Then do the same for B. Well, procedure B they charge $365 for, and the materials cost $74. And so that's up here. So that's going to give a throughput contribution of 291. And we've got the bottleneck hours of 2.4. So the return per hour is 121.25. Divide that again by the cost per hour, and that gives us 1.32. So the correct answer here is answer A. Next, we're being asked to consider which activities the surgery could use to improve the throughput ratio. Now, this is a paper-based question because it's multiple choice, but you can see how this would be adapted, I'm sure, to be a multiple response question in the computer-based exam. So we need to think about what's going to improve the throughput ratio. So again, it might be helpful to look at the formula for the throughput ratio. So the throughput ratio then is the return per hour divided by the cost per hour. So increase the time that the bottleneck spends on the treatment. Well, if we do that, then that is going to decrease the return per hour, so that is not going to improve the throughput ratio. Identify ways to reduce the material costs. Well, if we can reduce the material costs, then we'll be able to increase the throughput contribution, which in turn will increase the return per hour. So that's going to be a good option. Increase the level of inventory to prevent stockouts. Well, that's actually going to make things worse, because if we increase the productivity of the stage prior to the bottleneck, that's going to lead to an increase in the work in progress. So we definitely don't want to do that. Also don't want to increase the productivity of the receptionists. Improve the control of the total operating expenses. Well, if we do that, then the total factory costs will fall and the cost per hour will fall, improving the ratio. And if we apply an increase of the selling price of the services, that will also help improve the contribution and increase the return per hour. So you might be thinking, well, when we looked at target costing, it was never appropriate to raise the selling price. Well, that's not the case here. It's fine to raise the selling price. So the correct options then are 2, 5 and 6. So that's going to be option C. The final question then is slightly more challenging in terms of what would be the effect on the bottleneck if the surgery employed another dentist. So let's think about what we're being asked to consider here then. If they have another dentist, is there still going to be a bottleneck? Or will it only exist for one of the products, or will it exist for both of the products? So what we need to think about then is, what would that extra dentist be used for, and what's that going to do to the capacity for each of the treatments in the different processes? So we've got treatment A and treatment B, and we've got the 3 different processes. So we've got the receptionist, we've got the dentist, and we've also got the dental nurse. So we've got the 3 different processes which are occurring in the surgery. And we're told then in the question that there are 2,000, or we've worked out rather, there are 2,000 hours available each week. And you can see then that we have got 2 receptionists and 3 dental nurses. So what that means is we've got 4,000 reception hours and 6,000 dental nurse and dentist hours available per year. So what we need to think about then is how many of each can they process in that time. So 4,000 reception hours divided by 0.15 means they could deal with 26,667 patients in 1 year. In terms then of the dental nurse, we've got the 6,000 hours, at half an hour each, they could deal with 12,000 treatment A's. So I'm just going to pop all of that then into my capacity table. So 4,000 receptionist hours equating to 26,666 treatments. 6,000 dentist hours, which we worked out to be 4,800. And 6,000 dental nurse hours, which was 12,000. Then for product B, do the same thing. So that's 16,000 B of reception time, 2,500 treatment Bs for the dentist, and again 12,000 for the dental nurse. If another dentist was employed, that's going to give us another 2,000 hours per year. What would that extra dentist be able to do in those 2,000 hours per year? Well, they'd either be able to do 1,600 treatment A's, or they could do 833 B's. Regardless of what they spent time on, you can see without needing to do any further calculations that we're going to remain a bottleneck of dentist time for both treatments. So employing another dentist isn't going to alleviate the bottleneck, because that's the most labour intensive process in the surgery.